It is a couple minutes after 4 p.m. You are tuned to the 4 p.m. 411 on WLCN 96.3 FM. I am Lloyd Kirby, the marketing manager here at WLCN, and in studio today we have Ms. Andrea Runge from the Lincoln Economic Advancement and Development Incorporated.
Yeah.
Very good. So
we just call it LEAD because otherwise it's a big mouthful.
Okay, yeah, I could see that. So I found that out myself there. So thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
And Andrea is going to talk with us about economic development as well as some special events you have coming up. The organization is sponsoring, and you even have a little, not a quiz, but a question for our listening audience, I believe.
Oh, I do. So if you call in this half hour, I would love to talk to you and find out what your thoughts are about how we're doing. And I just asked that you answer one question, which is what makes Lincoln great. So you can ask me anything, or you can just call in to tell me what makes Lincoln great, because it's one of my favorite things to talk about. Well. And so you can either do either.
Okay.
You call in just to tell me about what you think makes Lincoln great to you, or you can ask me any question, but then you also have to answer mine. So.
Okay. And the number to call, 217-648-5510. That will get you here to the studio. If you'd like to send us an email, 4pm411 at WLCNonline.com. If you'd rather not be on the air with us by the telephone. So let's see. Let's get down to it. So what is economic development, and why is it important for a community such as Lincoln?
So economic development is one half of a two-sided coin. And that is community and economic development. And I am of a school of thought where we have to do both sides in order to create sustainability, which is always what we want in a community. We're trying to figure out not only what makes people want to live, work, and play here, but to also give them an opportunity that if they wish to live, work, and play here, they can do so in a way that keeps them economically healthy. So they can sustain themselves, and therefore the community can have a better opportunity to have sustainability as a whole. Okay.
Now, in my limited knowledge of economic development, I kind of see it as being sort of a cheerleader for the community and for the reasons that businesses should move here, utilize the community, utilize its services, but there's a lot more to it than that, I'm quite sure.
There is, but thank you for acknowledging the fact that I have a lot of community spirit. That's what I think you're saying. So the nuts and bolts of community development, or economic development rather, there are 4 different ways that we can accomplish it.
Okay.
We can create businesses, we can attract businesses, we can retain businesses, and we can help businesses expand. And I'm really here to help any Lincoln businesses or potential Lincoln businesses with any of those 4 things. And each person that is looking to do any of those 4 things may need something different. And so my job is to get to know them, talk to them, work with them, and then connect them with a tool that is what they need to get to the next spot in their journey.
Okay.
I personally love attraction, always would take a new business, and we have some that are coming in.
Okay.
Love them. My heart is really in helping empower local people. So I really focus more on creation, retention, and expansion, and attraction. I believe if we do those things in the right way, will just happen organically.
Okay. So how do you go about attracting a business to Lincoln other than saying, here we are, come be here?
Right. So that's part of the issue, right? It takes a lot of money to get the attention of a few years back. You may remember that Amazon Fulfillment Center, everybody wanted an Amazon Fulfillment Center, and every community was throwing everything they had to get it. And those things can be really, really costly. But there is a study. So I got my master's degree in community and economic development out of Western.
Okay.
And there was a study that one of the professors did there, 2 of them actually had worked together, and they found that $250,000 if that a community may spend in marketing, if they took that same amount of money and invested it in entrepreneurs that are local, they actually had a better return. So that doesn't answer your question, but does kind of give you a basis of why it is really hard to get known in that broad space.
Sure.
So instead of doing it that way, we are going to look at things a little differently. When we get to a point where we want to attract, the way we're going to do it is we're going to look at what synergies there are, not only in our local businesses and our industry that we've got.
Okay.
But we have a really great location, which means that we can start looking at industries in Peoria, Springfield, Decatur, Bloomington, and we can look at what synergies they have, and we can bring someone in potentially that is part of their supply chain or that services them or that delivers to them. So that's when we start looking at attraction. That's where my mind goes. That's where I'm going to focus.
Okay.
I'm not just going to be, like putting out all kinds of marketing and hoping that something sticks.
Right.
We want to do it in a way that is really smart, so that we're not just wasting resources. In fact, that's one of LEAD's core values is stewardship. We want to make sure that we are completely donor-based from local donors. We don't have any money from government entities, except for a little bit for the Small Business Community Navigator program. So we really need to be good stewards of local money. We want to make sure that we are keeping our costs as low as possible, and that means we need to be building from within, and then really being smart about what kind of concentrated marketing we're doing, to make sure that what we bring in is really going to get their attention because it makes mathematical sense for them.
Sure. And it's the study you cited, it kind of goes back to the old business adage, and I don't remember the particular numbers, but is it like 7 times or 8 times harder to attract a new client than it is to retain one? So sort of that same philosophy,
right?
Bringing in a new business versus supporting the ones that are there.
Right. Or think about it from if you were an employer, how much more expensive it is to train someone new than it is to keep your employee happy. It's the same kind of thing. We want to keep our local businesses happy, healthy, and make sure that they are having the tools they need to survive, like through something like COVID, in getting themselves reestablished. And so we're kind of working on all directions at all times, which is kind of interesting, being a one-man show, and why I don't sleep a lot. But because I'm up at night kind of pondering those things, like how in the world do we do that? But the good thing is that this isn't it isn't something that no one's done before. These are their proven ways to do it. And the other thing that's kind of interesting and maybe might make someone else feel uncomfortable, I think it's exciting, is that, the business that I'm in is making Lincoln the best Lincoln. It's not making Lincoln something different, into somebody different, modeling after somebody different, just making Lincoln the best Lincoln. And I'm having the best time doing it.
Well, that's good. That's what we like to hear. So our guest is Andrea Runge from the LEAD organization. I'm not going to say the entire
I don't blame you.
She is with us until 4:30. So if you have questions or comments, or if you would like to answer her question, which was,
what makes Lincoln great?
Give us a call, 217-648-5510. And as I said, if you have questions or comments or just anything you'd like to talk about with Andrea, she will be here for the duration of the show. Next week, we will have Annie Coors from the Lincoln branch of the First National Bank of Tremont. And then in 2 weeks, we will have Tracy Welch back, the mayor of Lincoln, for his monthly meeting with us. So
love him, too.
We will be back with Annie in just a minute. Or Annie.
That's okay.
Andrea.
Hey, my family calls me Annie. I'm
okay.
good. I'm good.
Well, as long as you don't get your gun on me, I guess we're okay. So we'll be back right after this. And we are back on the 4 p.m. 411. Our guest is Andrea Runge from the LEAD organization. 217-648-5510, the number to call if you have a question or comment for Andrea. We mentioned at the top of the show that the organization has a special event coming up, a special program coming up on August 29th.
Yes, it's Monday.
Monday, exactly.
Monday. Yes, I'd love to talk about it. Okay. So what we have on Monday is a program called Reversing the Exodus. It's happening at the Oasis. The doors open at 5. We'll probably start with the program about 5:30. We will be providing a free boxed dinner as a part of that. But you will need to register in order to get dinner. So I'll give you the link here in a minute.
Okay. Actually, for those who are watching on YouTube, it's actually on the screen now. So.
Oh, perfect. Thank you.
How about that?
So Reversing the Exodus is really about the fact that it's not just a Lincoln or a Logan issue. All of our rural areas in Illinois are losing population, and this is a University of Illinois Extension program that's been developed over 7 years. So this is a pretty extensive, it's got some good data behind it. Okay. And the lady who's coming to present it, her name is Pam Schallhorn, and she comes in and talks about why economic development is different now than it used to be. I know you and I talked just the other day about a quote that I'd heard at a conference the other day, which was, what is the way that it happens anymore? Do people follow jobs or do jobs follow people? Right. And when we were maybe first starting out, it was very much that people followed jobs. Mm-hmm. And now it's not that. For younger generations and even for our generation, it's becoming more that jobs follow people. So economic development becomes much more personalized to the family's needs. And I'm going to give you some statistics, which I'm going to read because I have not gotten these memorized. So Logan County, between the 2010 and 2020 censuses, lost 5.33% of our total population. Wow. And that is stunning.
Right, that's significant.
But then if you break it down into age groups, it gets worse. Oh. Sorry. Okay, so if we look at school-age children, 5 to 19, we actually lost 17.94% of our school-age children in that 10-year period. Now, some of those would be people, because it continues 19, that'd be people who go away to school, right. But it's bigger than that. It's got to be significant loss. Sure. And then if we look at people aged 20 to 54, so that is our working population. Right. We lost 10.31% of our working population. So you take that and you couple it with the workforce issues that are happening all throughout the country, it becomes more of a immediate issue. We need to know, how do we become more marketable or attractive to people who are in that younger generation, people who are young, starting families, have families in our school systems. School systems are so important to the sustainability of a community. Sure. And so that's just part of what we need to look at. And also, we just need young families, because our population is aging, in order for them to age in place, to have those services that they need to be able to do that and not have to, submit their home or go someplace else for care. We have to have a population that's able to provide those services to them. So it's really more than just about economics. It's really about taking care of our community and making us sustainable. So Pam is going to come in and she's going to give this presentation. The presentation part's probably about 30 minutes while people eat dinner. And then we actually have a young panel of young entrepreneurs. They're local people that would be millennials, I think it's Gen Z. It's one of the gens. It's not X, because that's what I am. It may be Y. So it may be Y in millennials. But it's really about what is it that makes them want to be in Lincoln, start businesses in Lincoln, and what can we learn about engaging in multiple generation conversations to know, how do we do this better? How do we figure this out together?
Okay. 217-648-5510, the number to call. We're talking with Andrea Runge from the LEAD organization. And you want to remind listeners what the question is you're posing?
Oh, yeah. The question is, what makes Lincoln great?
What makes Lincoln great?
What is, we do, and I know we've got to take a break here, but we do asset-based community development. And I know that sounds like a lot of words, but really what it is looking at what do we do really well as a community, and then what do we need to do, and how do we connect those? How do we take what we do well and apply those to things that we maybe could use a little help in? And it's also better to think about what we're good at.
Yeah, I like that better. Look at the glass half full. So,
absolutely.
Once again, LEAD will be sponsoring that workshop, Reversing the Exodus, that happens on August 29th at the Oasis Senior Center. It is a free event. However, you do need to register in advance. And do you want to try reading the URL?
Sure.
Okay.
It's https://go.illinois.edu/reversing the exodus, all together, no spaces.
Right, all together. So, or if you don't happen to have a pen or paper with you, and you're hearing this, if you hop on our YouTube archives after the broadcast, we've got it there. Also, if you log into the WLCN community calendar, we have the event information under the August 29th date. So, as Andrea said, we do need to take a break, so we will take our second break here and then return with more about economic development and the LEAD organization right. And we are back on the 4 p.m. 411. Our guest is Andrea Runge from the LEAD organization. We were talking about the event LEAD is sponsoring on the 29th, Monday at 5 p.m. Begins with the meal, and the topic of conversation will be reversing the exodus, talking about the ways to slow down or
attract and retain young adults.
Attract and retain young adults. I didn't have the full title in front of me.
That's okay.
So let's talk about economic development again, because there were a couple things we talked about actually on the phone prior to this.
Okay.
Mentioned that you are obviously working on economic development, but there are other folks in and around the Logan County area, such as Logan County Board hired Beth Cavalman for economic development. In addition, Bill Thomas, I know, does things for Atlanta as well as around the county. So how do you folks work together? Are you all kind of pulling everything in the same direction? What is the relationship there?
So you're right. We do have a few people in town that do that, or in the county. And I always say that whenever our energy or intention goes, that's where our energy flows, and that's where things, start to happen. So the more the merrier when it comes to this. It's the more people we can talk about what makes Lincoln-Logan County an outstanding place to live, work, and play, the better we are. From a more technical side, so Bill Thomas, as you had mentioned, he covers the county, and he explained it to me as that Lincoln was kind of the donut hole. That was the part he doesn't cover, and I cover the 62656, so that's kind of my bailiwick, or as they would say. And then Beth is new. She took Will DeAndrea's spot, and Will and I had a great relationship, and I know Beth very well, and it's more about, I think that she's looking at more at the attraction for the open spaces, so energy, solar, things like that on a broader scale, and doing some different things. I know she's really passionate about Fifth Street Project and some things like that. And I am doing more of, so far at least, one-on-one work with local entrepreneurs, kind of getting them either, like I said, in that creation, retention, or expansion arena.
Okay. Something else we talked about, and actually you sort of touched on it earlier, with the big Amazon warehouse project. When those big businesses go elsewhere, and the other, I think the one we talked about on the phone was Rivian landing in Normal. Right. The knee-jerk reaction, I guess, if you're a Lincoln resident, might be, really wish we could have gotten that here. Exactly. Yes. But as you explained to me on the phone, it's actually not a bad thing that it did land in Normal.
Yeah. I mean, would we have liked it? Heck yeah. Would I have loved it? Yes, I could have probably retired. Like, I could have just kicked back for a while. But, the thing is that really the way that economic development works best, in my opinion, is that we root for the region, right? We're wanting things that are good for the region. And for Lincoln, that's even more so, or Logan, because people who might want experience in electric vehicle manufacturing can get that very close to home and choose to live and stay in Lincoln. And not only are we retaining them as a resident, but then they are probably bringing home the amount of money that Bloomington worked really hard to get by bringing Rivian to town. They're bringing part of that money here and buying goods and services in Lincoln-Logan County. That's great. And the other thing is that, when people come in, big executives who are coming in to work for them, if they don't want to live maybe in that kind of situation, they want something that's a little more small town or rural, something that feels more like home or comfy to them because that's where they're from. Right. We're a great resource for them. We're a great option for them because it's something that's close for them. So there are people who I think do look at, if you're not first, you're last. I think I told you I could do I could hang with you on my Ricky Bobby quotes, but it's really not like that in economic development. Would it be awesome? Yes. Not going to say it wouldn't, but there really are benefits, and it's good for us to be supportive of things that are happening in the region because they really do make us as a region more attractive, and we have more things to offer to people who choose to live here but work elsewhere. And we get to utilize their money as a multiplier in our local businesses. So it's win.
Exactly. So in addition to the Reversing the Exodus program on the 29th, you mentioned to me that you have a couple other events coming up in September and November, I believe. Can you touch on those briefly?
Sure. We've got a succession planning. It's the third in a series. This one focuses on nonprofit succession planning, which is totally different. We did one on agricultural-based or farm-based businesses, one on traditional business, and nonprofits are just so much different in the way they have to plan for their future. So this one is a nonprofit succession planning. It will happen on September 20th at 10:30 at the Guest House. We always have coffee and cookies, and theirs are always delicious. So we have a panel discussion. Anyone's welcome to come, whether you work for a nonprofit or on a board or just are interested or just want a cookie. Okay. I'd be all right with that too. Yeah. And then in November on the 14th, we've got an interesting interesting one at noon at the Dugan Center. We'll have a box lunch at that event.
Okay.
And it's Defy Ventures. And Defy Ventures is a nationwide organization that teaches entrepreneurial skills to people who are in the justice system. Mm-hmm. And it really has a huge impact on reducing recidivism rates, and because they're giving people not only skills that they need to kind of change their life trajectory when they get out, but they give them loans and equity investments and a chance to actually start that business when they get out. Wow. So, and we're lucky that it only happens in 2 places in Illinois, and one of them is Logan Correctional Center. So it's something that's happening in our own backyard. And so figuring out about this particular initiative and how it's happening and affecting people that are here in Logan County, if only just temporarily, is going to be great. Melissa Odell, I think, is her name. Her name is Melissa, I know. Okay. And she's going to be here and telling us all about how they are taking an approach kind of like the CEO program and changing people in the justice system, changing their lives for the better.
All right, very good. So just a couple minutes left. 217-648-5510. Question of the day.
What makes Lincoln great?
You wanted me to answer. Was that the question you wanted me to answer? Because you said you had 4.
Well, I do have 4, but that one's the one. That's the question of the day.
I would probably go... with people.
Yeah.
People. Just
that is the most common answer I get. Yeah. And I think it is it's such a wonderful answer. Right. Because it's so true. There is a warmth about Lincoln. And everyone is so caring and kind and entrepreneurial in the way we approach problems. And, I think about the way that people work together. And I believe that to be true. I believe that we're stronger together because we have great people.
Yeah, I mean, there's several. There's not a wrong answer, I don't think. I mean, you could talk about the history. You could talk about the the wonderful resources, the natural resources with all the parks and the park district. I mean, there's lots of different ways you could take it.
Oh yeah, I mean, I could make a really good case that schnitzel is one of the things that makes Lincoln great, just because it's delicious. But there are so many things that we have that are amazing, and part of the time, a lot of times people, when they're having conversations, it's just our natural human tendency to talk about, things that are maybe could be better. But I love to just frame it from what makes us great, because there's so many answers that are spot on.
And of course, the lead organization, a great thing about Lincoln.
Well, I would like to think that we are definitely in that category, but I'd like to think that the reason we belong in that category is just because we help empower local people to be, to follow their dream, to be who they want, and to figure out how to help them get there.
That sounds like a noble cause, to be sure. So our guest has been Andrea Runge from the lead organization. She is... You're the CEO. See, I almost called you executive director.
I would have been all right with it, CEO, but yeah, technically.
And Lincoln Economic Advancement and Development will be sponsoring the November. Good grief, the August 29th program, Reversing the Exodus. And that happens at the Oasis Senior Center. We'll flash the information on the screen here for you as we end the live stream. Any parting thoughts or anything we didn't cover that you wish we would have covered?
I think the only thing that I would add is that some people think that I'm here only for big business or for anything, like large scale things. I have a member of our board who actually said, gosh, before I really knew, I just thought you were here for bringing in those big businesses. And I'm really here for anyone who has an inkling or an idea of anything they might want to try. Yeah. So don't hesitate to call 217-871-1439 or visit our website, thriveinlincoln.org.
Okay. Thanks to Andrea Runge. Next week, as I said, Annie Coors will be our guest from the Lincoln branch of the First National Bank of Tremont. And we will see you next time on the 411.